usually does this, and I'm on my own today, so we're just kind of winging it. But welcome to the show, Terri. How you doing today?
Thank you. I have faith that you've got this. It's going
I
to work.
think so too.
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing good. So I have never asked where you are located.
I am currently located outside of Denver, Colorado.
Okay. Nice. How's
But since my
Colorado? You guys,
house and office are on wheels, subject to change.
nice. I actually had somebody ask me the other day if I knew anybody running a social media marketing agency out of an RV because she wanted to run one out of an RV. And I was like, I think I actually do.
Yep.
And that's you.
Yep. So I started my agency 5 years ago, and we've been full time 4 years. So
Nice. And completely out of the RV.
completely out of the RV. Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
So what is that like? Do you have degrees of separation, or are you just kind of all over the RV all the time?
No, I pretty much live in the bedroom. I live and work in the bedroom.
Mhm.
I have a makeshift desk. I mean, so for some perspective, the RV is 40 feet long. It has washer and dryer. It has a 50-inch TV. It has a fireplace. It has residential appliances. So I'm not in this like 10-foot trailer. I'm in a condo on wheels. And so, yeah, so we do have separation of, I pretty much work and sleep in the bedroom because that's just the door behind me slides and it's pretty quiet. My dog likes to crash, so I went ahead and slid the door because she's popped up on more Zoom meetings and stuff than I care.
Little cameos.
Yeah, exactly. When she's a golden doodle, and so people see her and she looks like this live stuffed animal, so people, oh, and then it just derails,
Yeah.
so then it takes like 5 minutes to get people focus.
Yeah. Back to business.
Yeah.
Cool. So what made you decide to run a social media marketing agency out of your RV? Was it just because you guys really like to travel and be mobile, or?
Well, there were a lot of factors. So I I joined the I founded my agency kind of later in life. I I'm about to have my 5th-year anniversary right after Thanksgiving. I really didn't get started until January of 2019. I walked away from a multi-6-figure consulting agency, but it wasn't an agency, it was me. So I had created a high-paying job for myself, and that didn't have benefits, 401k, any of that stuff. And I was working with a lot of really big companies, Hewlett Packard, Cisco, Apple, Ford Motor Company. And I was doing project management for information technology projects. And I was a freelance project manager. Also was very, very, very well known in the RFP space. So when a company is going to bid on a government contract, actually a lot of companies like Apple, Ford, all of them, they have an RFP process. So they have to put it out to bid. So request for proposal. And I was probably one of, I don't know, a couple dozen people in the country that really dialed that process in and got it to, I systemized it for the large reseller I was working with. And we got their invitation to bid up to like 80%. So when I first started working with them, about 30% of the proposals that they would submit, they would get the invitation to actually bid because it's a whole big thing. And by the time I stopped working with them, it was over 80%. So people like sought me out. Like, how do you get us in there? And, and there was all kinds of non-competes and all that stuff. And one day I had a contract canceled on me that was I'm not going to say. I want to say, but I'm not going to say.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be for 6 months. We were going to roll out a version of a web meeting platform, and they just pulled the plug because I told them they weren't ready. I said, you're not ready, and here's why. And so they decided to fire the project manager because, that changes their their readiness. No, it didn't. They ended up, I found out 3 months after they let me go, they ended up scrapping the whole project because other players like Zoom and other people came into to play, and they just weren't competitive anymore.
Okay, so Zoom
So
wasn't
I
like a
was,
thing yet then.
it was, but it wasn't, corporations weren't using it really, right?
Mm.
Like it just hadn't taken off as much. And this product kind of that I was doing the next release on held the corporate market in that space, like dominated. And they just couldn't get it's still around, but the fraction of the market that they have now is so small. But I just this was like, that was like a $200,000 contract canceled. Plus, I was committed to that for 6 months. We were going to reevaluate at the end of 6 months. So now I have no pipeline, right? I'm basically unemployed. And this wasn't the first time it had happened. It seemed like every 18 months or something. And, I didn't get it. Businesses change direction and all of that stuff. But being the little guy, right, that like I'm committing to you, right? Like I'm committing to you. You have my time. And it just got to the point where I had it, and I had been watching, keeping my eye on this whole local marketing thing for a while. And right after that happened, I kind of licked my wounds for a week, and then I booked a call, and I grilled that person.
Nice.
I mean, I was just like, so help me, if this doesn't work, I will come find you. And I work in IT, and I have people who can do scary things. And
Oh
it
man.
just, yeah, I mean, I was not nice, because I was in a bad place. I was in a really
Mm-hmm.
not a great place.
Mm-hmm.
And, I had also previously, I had a brick and mortar service-based business. I had a dog daycare and boarding facility, and in 2008, did $1.4 million. Do you know how much doggy daycare that is?
Wow.
And I was going, and that's back when the economy was really starting to, you know, take a bad turn. And I was like, economy, schnonomy, this is awesome, and all this stuff. 2009, I went from over $1 million to 297,000. And I closed my doors January 2010 and went down in a blaze of glory. Because I had
Okay,
bought
so
a building.
can
What was
we
that?
kind of take a step back? You said before you did the doggy daycare, you were doing RFP processes. So if you could
I
explain
went
that
back.
to
I kind of jumped around there. I was in
No, that's
IT for
okay.
years and years and years.
Okay.
And then I did the doggy daycare thing. And
Mm-hmm.
then when that went down in that blaze of glory, I went back to it as a consultant because it was just, I wasn't going to work for somebody else. I literally lost everything. We
Mm-hmm.
ended up losing our house over it years later, but still tied to it because it was part of a guarantee on an SBA loan.
Okay.
So, yeah, so it was bad. And, so I went and did the RFP thing because it was what I knew, and I had contacts, and people were like, "Oh yeah, we would love that." And then it was awesome because then I wasn't tied to just one company. I could do this process and do project management for multiple companies, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I was finally paid what I was worth in that space because I am way older than you. And, for most of my professional IT career, I made 60 cents on the dollar compared to my male counterparts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So going consulting, you're going to pay me what I'm worth, or
Mm-hmm.
someone else will. And then that was the other piece of not going to work for someone else again, because, number one, male dominated field of IT. Number two, if, female, executive. It wasn't pretty. I mean, I love it, the experience I got, all of that, but it was hard. It was really hard. And I think that's like what toughened me up for the rest of, my career. Like I'm on career number 5, I think, right now. But what made me so passionate about this was I had lost a business. I knew what it was like to be a small business owner, and I knew what it was like to invest everything. Like I went way too far in. And it took me, we closed in January 2010, and I never thought I would find something I loved as much as that. And finally, this came along, and I was like, okay, I was meant to go through that so I can do this. And that awakening didn't happen until about 2 years ago. It happened in COVID. It happened during COVID because I was working with all wellness-based businesses, all brick and mortar, and bam, they're shut down. Done. And I'm like, oh my God, I am going to lose my second business. Are you kidding me right now? Like, what the heck? And then instead, well, after about 6 weeks of like losing my mind and convinced this is all, a repeat, I got my head out of my butt and I said, okay, how do we fix this? And no one had a script. No one had ever done marketing. No one had ever done anything like, well, not certainly, I mean, direct mail and stuff like that when other economic downturns, but like in 2008, people were still on MySpace. Facebook wasn't even a blip. The last time that we had faced this kind of an economy or this kind of thing. And I just decided I got together with, some of my key clients and we got scrappy. We got so scrappy. That's where message marketing came into play for me big time, keeping in touch with people, keeping them informed. It came out of a need of necessity, but then all of a sudden people were like, can we buy gift cards? Can we do this? Can we do that? And so in 2020, summer of 2020, I sent my first true message marketing campaign, other than newsletters and all of that stuff. And in it was May, June, July, for the client, my guinea pig client, we did $58,000. And it was the difference of her staying open and her closing. So then I went to all my other customers. I was like, I think I got something. Nice. Let's do this. And so, it was crazy. And then everything just took off. Like my business transformed in a way I could never have imagined.
Okay, so I wanna just kind of go back. Can you explain, like, if somebody's listening to this and they have no idea what RFP means, can you kind of explain that as though we're like third graders?
So, when you are going to do a big company like Apple, Ford, Microsoft, the government, when you are going to do any type of big project, my world, it was IT, but it could be build a bit, like say you want to do an expansion, you're Google and you need to add another tower. You're required, if you're publicly held and if you're a government entity, to put that out to bid. So you send qualified companies or people you believe who are qualified to do it a request for proposal. So that's what RFP is. And then some poor soul has to manage the response to that request. That was me. I was the one that would, and back in the day, again, I'm old, they would make you, there wasn't electronic submissions. No. There was binders that had to be delivered and FedEx, receipt and this and that. So literally the conference room would turn into a war room, right? And we've got all the binders that they want. And as we're finalizing parts, we're like putting them in there and stuff like that. So I was the one that wrote the majority of it and put it together. And when we needed hardware quotes, I got those. If we needed software quotes, I got those. If we needed services quotes, I got those and put it in. So I assembled it. And that's when I said, so when I first started working with this company, before I opened my dog daycare, I was an employee. And I took their RFP process to, when they would submit these things that take massive hours to compile, massive amounts of money, it's so expensive. I actually put together a process before you would even decide, like, we had to do an assessment, like bid or no bid, right? And there were times that it made sense not to bid because we either A, couldn't do it, B, couldn't be competitive, C, just no, like no. And so I took that whole process and systemized it and got their invitation to bid from low 30s to over 80%. So when they submitted something, it was so solid. 80% of the time they made it past that proposal process and got invited to the bid process, which then starts a whole nother circus of, you're opening up your books, you're showing that you truly can do everything that you said you could do. There's in-person presentations. I mean, oh my gosh, it is crazy. So crazy. So that's what that is. And for a while, I was kind of I certainly was in Southern California. Like I was very well known and very, like, people would come and try and find me and try and get me to go do it for them and, and stuff. And I was like, that's just dirty pool. I'm not going to do that. But then when the business failed, the dog daycare and boarding business failed, I became a free agent, right? And you know what happens in free agency? Your price goes up. You kind of have a little more control. So that's what I did previously. And at one point managed a team of over 200 people. So
wow, okay. So then you said you got out of you did the doggy daycare thing, you did that, and then you started seeing some ads for LMV. And I like what you said, that when you got on that call, you were hitting that person hard with questions. So do you feel like you went into that with just like some kind of worry about, like, what if this doesn't work, and you were kind of skeptical, or why do you feel like you had so many really hard questions?
So, well, I don't even know if you know the story. LMV wasn't the first local marketing program I bought.
Okay.
It wasn't the second. It was the third. The other two no longer exist. So not only had I just like come out of, I'm so done with people jerking me around. I am so done with, I made myself a job. I didn't make myself a business. Then on top of that, I was like, I'm not falling for it again, but there was just something different. There was just really something different. And so I grilled them. And so I don't think I felt it wouldn't work. I don't think I ever felt that, because every business needs marketing. And I often wonder, like, if I knew now what I could go back in time with my dog daycare, right? Because we hadn't been open but 2 years when all of that happened. And so had I known then what I know now, would that story have ended differently? So I don't think I ever thought it wouldn't work. I think I thought, would I enjoy it? Would I be good at it? I mean, this is a complete change, right? I've never done marketing. I mean, I did a little bit for my dog daycare and boarding facility, but it was mostly like print, like yellow pages, the newspaper, I mean, the grocery cart. You know how they have the little plastic things when you do the grocery cart and there's always an ad? Yeah, I had dogs there. I mean, who wouldn't want to look at dogs, right? Like, come play at Camp Powwow. But yeah, so I didn't think it wouldn't work. I was just bitter. I mean, I was really not in a good headspace. I was just done. I was really done on a lot of levels. And I kind of I had a couple projects that were winding down, and I was like, I'm not going to make a decision one way or the other until after the first year. I've earned that, right? Like, I've earned that. So I went through all the training, and I was kind of like from Thanksgiving through the end of the year. And I was like, this doesn't make sense. Like, I think I could do this. And I was rebuilding the sample campaigns. I was rebuilding them, like, watching the trading, watch, pause, do, watch, pause, do. And I was like, I think I can do this. And so in January of 2019, I was like, all right, I'm going, just go. And I closed 5 trials in January. Only one went to retain a client because it wasn't my niche. I was working with yoga studios, and God bless the yoga studio owners out there. I realized I needed to work with more business-minded people because of my business background. Like, I just couldn't, and I'm a woo-woo person. Like, I'm really into spirituality. I love yoga. And that's why I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a great fit. But it's like, no, you can't wait a week to call the lead. No, you can't do that. Well, I was doing this and I was doing that. And I was like, no, just no. And so, after the one converted, I quit doing trials and I started going straight in. And in February, I landed my first cryotherapy studio. And that was game changing for me. And then I went on and I worked with attorneys. And I mean, I probably have worked in 15 to 20 niches, I would say, from lead generation, from like more the actual digital services versus just message marketing. And something happened with me and then the cryotherapy. It just made a lot of sense to me. I loved their value ladder. I loved the ascension. And I still work with that cryotherapy studio from February 2019. Now? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice. And she's going to hit, what was that?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, she's going to hit $1 million this year.
Wow.
So she'll be my sixth business to take over $1 million.
Nice. That's amazing. That must feel so good. So you got into LMB, you did what a lot of people do. You dabbled with some different niches, you offered trials, you followed those kind of baby steps. And now, I mean, a lot of people in the program know you as kind of the queen of message marketing. So if somebody were watching this video that is new to the LMB world and doesn't know what you're talking about when you say message marketing, can you kind of explain what that is and why you felt like you really wanted to hone in on that service? Because a lot of people think that LMB is just lead generation. It's just launching ads.
Well, and I love that you asked me that question because most people don't. And they just and they make a lot of assumptions. I got into it because I got tired of lead gen clients quitting because they weren't getting results. They weren't getting results because they weren't following up. So long before Go High Level, again, me and my being archaic, long before Go High Level, ATB, all of the automation things happened, we had a little tool that did it for us. And its name was Howdy, HOWDEE. And I made it mandatory for my lead generation clients to include automated follow-up. I would not sell it without it, and I charged extra for it. And we took response rates and closure rates from on cold traffic, Facebook leads, or Google, paid traffic. We took them from mid-20s to our top performing ads right now, campaigns, converted 71% to cold traffic.
Nice.
71%.
Wow.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep. And that's how I got into message marketing. Most people think it's because I loved writing and I'm a good writer and I'm a copywriter. I'm not. I'm a kick-ass marketer that writes better than average copy. That is what I am. Well, then people would start going, well, I already have somebody doing my ads, but they're not doing this. Okay, let's take a look at it, right? So I've developed quite a collaboration with other marketers. People, I don't care. You don't want me to run your ads? Okay, I would prefer it because you'll get better results, but hey, okay, here we go. And so then I started doing standalone message marketing, which is email and SMS marketing. And that, again, when it really took off was the pandemic. That's when it really took off. When I saw the power, I mean, the money's in the list, the this, the that. I witnessed firsthand the difference between businesses folding because they didn't get any of the bailout money and businesses succeeding. And it was staying in contact, being, even if it was just a newsletter, like we're not open, but here, you know what, here's some resources in the community. Probably my best performing campaign during that time, remind me and I'll send you the copy. It was for a Mexican, or no, it was for like a pub type restaurant, and they were all retired special forces, military. And they had to immediately go from, being open to delivery. At the time, they weren't even allowed to offer pickup. It had to be delivery, and the delivery protocols were crazy because of where they were located. And they're like, how do we get the word out? Da, 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 da. I go, give me a list. Let's do this. And I wrote probably the most fun email I've ever written. What we decided was, because, the whole toilet paper got crazy, right? Well, they had pallets of crappy toilet paper from their office supply place, right? And their restaurant supply place. So if you placed a $10 order to go, you got a roll of toilet paper. $19,000 that email did.
Wow.
Until we quit tracking.
And how long? Like, what kind of time span was that in?
Weeks. Weeks.
God.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
Restaurant that during the pandemic was probably like really struggling.
Absolutely. And so, yeah. And because of who they are and what they do, they even started like, oh my gosh, it was just amazing. Like they repurposed their whole staff. They didn't lay anybody off. They, had it truly, that's another client I've had for a very, very long time. People would find out that people couldn't afford their food. And so they would get it forwarded and they would just deliver food and toilet paper, And so that kind of became this crowd feeding instead of crowd funding. Probably one of the coolest things I've ever been a part of. But yeah, and he was like, where did you come up with the idea? I go, I was cruising through Target and there wasn't any friggin' toilet paper. And so yeah. Funny. Yeah. So basically one email.
The thing that kind of took you from lead generation to message marketing was just realizing how much value there was in these businesses following up with their customers. And that's 100%. Where you saw that potential. Okay.
Yep. 100%. Yeah.
I think that's actually a really good point, because sometimes when I'm talking to people about not even just this business of social media marketing, but just any business, is that you are looking for business partners in a way. And sometimes you will run into businesses that you'll realize for one reason or another, maybe aren't a good partner for you. And sometimes it's that, you said you had yoga studios that would wait a week to follow up with the lead. And you as the marketer, you're like, well, this might be effort wasted on my part because I'm sending you these leads and you're not taking care of them. So maybe we're not a good fit because I need businesses that are going to jump on those leads.
Correct. And now today, and I know it sounds crazy, like, especially somebody who's new, and I don't work with more people that I talk to than I do work with, because I'm interviewing them as much as they're interviewing me.
Yeah.
And that was probably one of the biggest.
A really good point, though.
One of the pieces, a core piece of our training is that whole,
but it is a two-way interview. You're like, this is a business partnership that we both have to be into. So I think that's a really good point.
Yep.
Okay.
So.
All right, cool. So you said that you had tried 2 other programs before LMB. They didn't work out the way that you were expecting them to. So what do you feel like it was about LMB that you were willing to kind of take that chance on and go 3 for 3?
Well, for one, their results, their reviews, and because I had bought 2 other programs, I had identified gaps, right? I'm a consultant. No matter what I'm doing, I'm in there under the hood checking out how things work. I can't help it. And the person I spoke to shared with me how those gaps were closed, how those gaps were closed. And so I think that was the biggest thing. And then just how it was laid out. I mean, it really, truly, and again, I've been in 5 years. So what it looks like today is not what it looked like when I joined. And we had it a lot harder. That's all I'm going to say. But for those people who came in, followed it, and didn't second guess everything and didn't, but what, just do it and find out it didn't work and then assess why it didn't work. Was it you? Was it the process? Was it a wrong fit? So, and it's really, I love the name of your podcast and your newsletter. I joined, by the way, because I always say I'm just a digital dingbat that just is too stubborn to give up. Like, that's the thing. And, the definition of, idiocy is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So yes, come in, do the things. And if you're not getting a result, we'll look at it. Like, you have to take a look at it, like, what kind of feedback are you getting? There's something somewhere that is off, because if it weren't, you'd be getting a different result. So yeah, I'm totally digital dingbat. I'm, again, old. I started this business in my 50s. I was 52. So, I see people coming in and
digital dingbat.
Yep, digital dingbat. Yep. I think I'm smarter than the average bear. Again, I'm too stubborn to quit, but there's some pieces of this that it's not that I can't figure it out. I just don't want to. Like, when I push buttons, except for in message marketing, bad things happen and I cry. So I don't push buttons anymore. I have some amazing partners that push buttons for me because bad things happen. I shouldn't push buttons.
Yeah. No, I think you hit on a really, really important part there, because a lot of people will come into not even just this program, but any program, and they kind of allow themselves to get overwhelmed. And I was actually talking to somebody about this today, because she was kind of second guessing. She's like, I don't know, I feel really stressed about it. And she was basically kind of trying to jump ahead. Like, she had this client in mind already, but she hadn't gone through the training. And then she was kind of talking herself out of it. And I think you hit on a really good point there, in that it's very easy to think like, well, what if this and what if this and then what if this happens? You just have to do it. And if that thing happens, then you will figure it out in that moment and you'll pivot from there. But you just have to do it.
Well, and you know what? Not to spoiler alert, you may not figure it out and you might fall flat on your face. Guess what? That's where the best lessons come from. Like, I have blown up everything. Like, I used to joke that my mission in life with this was to blow shit up as fast as I could. Like, that was it. Like, you know what? Just blow it up. And then, okay, now what do we do? Okay, now what do we do? And I think that I'm a mentor for this group too. So, trust me, I see all the people trying to reinvent this. And I'm like, what are you doing? Where in the training is that? It is nowhere. It's not in the training. Stop it. Makes me nuts.
Yeah.
I'm probably the meanest mentor they have, if I'm honest. Probably. I'm not.
As a mentor, you kind of have to be a little bit mean, though, because if somebody's like, yeah, I'm going to not only do this program, but I want to mentor, they need somebody to kind of crack the whip and tell them like, hey, you're going off course here. That's why you're running into this issue. You just need to get back on course.
Oh yeah. Like, I tell people all the time, you are in a misery of your own making. You created this. You did that. Well, no. And one, I don't know, you probably have heard this story. I don't know if you have or not. Jason told me I wasn't special once, and he was right. So I say that now. You're not special. You're not the first person to have this exact question, this exact problem. Stop it. Just stop it and trust the process. And it's so interesting because the people who finally do, to get over that hump is so much shorter than what they thought. Like literally within the, 8 weeks I'm working with them, usually around week 2 to 3 is the freak out, what I call like, what have I done? This is never going to work. Oh my God, stuff. And then all of a sudden they'll keep doing a few things and they'll see a small glimmer of a result. And they'll be like, oh, maybe it will work. No, it will work. It will. You just have to decide that it's going to. But yeah,
no, that's such a big point right there. You have to decide that it's going to, because you could take the most proven program in the entire world, and I do honestly think this program is one of the best online programs out there, and you can screw it up just by screwing it up.
Oh, and I still do that. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, trust me. And it's funny because I've kind of been in my business in a place of comfort, like the last couple of years. Very comfortable. Comfortable is very dangerous in business. It's very dangerous. And so part of the reason I signed up to be a mentor was to kind of, well, number one, I was doing it anyways and not officially. And then number two, I was like, you know what? I need to get back to my roots. Like, I need to get grounded back in, why did I start this? What are my passions? Why am I just comfortable? Like not growing, not declining. I'm just cruising. And, that's not a great place to be. I mean, I'm sure if you're just starting out, you want to be there. You always have to be looking like the next thing, you know what I mean? And like, what's that look like? What's that level? What do I need to do to get there? And hold yourself accountable to it. And I'm doing a really kind of crappy job of holding myself accountable, but then that's where the group comes in, right? You've got these amazing people to support you. And I'm a small, small, small fish in the success that has come out of this group. I have probably 5 or 6 multi-7-figure agency owners on my phone, right? And I can just reach out and go, I'm being an idiot. What aren't I seeing? And they'll be like, oh, this, and this. And you're like, okay, fine.
Yeah, I think that's,
but no matter where you are,
point, though, that a lot of people don't really know until they're in a group like this, is just the value of being, let's say your first business goal is, I want to make $50,000 a month. A lot of people don't understand how valuable it is to then be in a group where people actually are making $50,000 a month. Because I think when you are surrounded by people that are actively doing the thing that you want to be doing, it kind of it makes you like step up when you see it happening.
Yep. The most dangerous thing or place you can be is the smartest person in the room. You never want to be the smartest person in the room. If you are, go find another room, because you just, again, that complacent, not growing, not expanding. And it's really, what's really cool about this group is, I'm not going to name drop anything, but there are some, I'm blown away by their success. And it's so interesting how not a single one of them, they have the core, the foundation, right? The foundation is all there, but they've just put a spin on it that you're like, wow, I didn't think of that. That's really freaking cool.
Yeah. Even the kind of path that you took from going just from focusing on lead gen and getting businesses leads to then kind of pivoting to message marketing. So can you kind of take us through, like, if you could go back to when you first came into LNB, do you remember like how long it took you, how many weeks in you were when you started doing trials and getting clients, and like how quickly did you kind of get to that first, even like 10K a month? Do you remember how long that took you to get there?
I remember every detail. I remember my first lead I generated. I remember what I was wearing, where I was sitting, like all of it. Like I remember all of it. So I joined right after Thanksgiving in 2018. I landed 5 trials in January of 2019. I landed 3 retainer clients in February of 2019. I hit 10K in May of 2019. and actually it was 11,870. And in June of 2019, I did $21,000 and broke my
Wow.
business. Because that prospecting sheet that no one does, I turned that green for 8 months. 8 months. And so I didn't get double my business better in 30 days. I mean, that doesn't happen. That was what I had done in January, February, March, April, right? That was all of that stuff bubbling up and coming to fruition. And so, yeah. And then I just like literally, because at the time, it was me and one tech person that did that. And it sounds amazing, and it was amazing. Like it truly was amazing. But I didn't have systems. I didn't have, I was winging it. I didn't have any processes. And I still don't have a VA. No one believes me, but I don't. I have more tech resources and more fulfillment people, but I do all my sales and all my client management. I still do all of that.
Yeah.
So
I think that's something that people get like right away. People want to bring in VAs, and you can maybe speak to this, but I'm kind of a believer that you should learn to do everything in your business first before you outsource it. Because I think people are very quick to, they're like, I don't want a cold call, so I'm going to hire a VA to do my cold calling. But for me, I did a lot of cold outreach, and you kind of learn the language tweaks as you go, and you learn what words really trigger people, and you don't learn that if you're not doing it yourself. So now you might just be wasting money on that VA because you haven't learned how to do that process efficiently.
I cannot agree with that statement more. And every aspect. Like, I get that you don't want to push buttons. Okay, fine. But if you don't at least have a fundamental knowledge of what needs to happen, how do you accurately assess a tech partner, decide on the right tech partner? And trust me, my tech partner number 1 didn't work out. My tech partner number 2 didn't work out. I think the one that finally hit was my 3rd or 4th. And it was me learning how I wanted to run my business. You know what I mean? And I think most people, the minute something goes wrong, they just pack up their tools, right? They're just, I don't want to play anymore, right? And that's kind of like a toddler saying, I fell down, so I don't want to learn to walk anymore. Like, no, look at how tenacious toddlers are, man. They hit the ground, and then all of a sudden they're like, okay, where can I go next, right? That is like you have to have that just constant with it. And like I said, like, especially when I was first learning, more went wrong than went right. But what went right was so amazing and so rewarding. It made me want to get better at the things that went wrong. So I personally think absolutely you need to touch every piece of it. And you might surprise yourself. I was a director of IT. Wouldn't one think I would push buttons? Like, that's what I thought I was going to do. I wasn't going to do sales. I don't do sales. Icky people do sales. I do delivery. That's what I've always done. Well, here she sits doing sales.
So when do you think that tweak kind of happened for you? Because I think a lot of people think that they don't want to do sales. Like, for a lot of people, the thought of doing sales is like icky. But then look at you now. So where do you think that shift happened?
Well, I think part of it is because I do come from a consulting background, right? I'm a problem solver. So, and I used to get handed stuff that sales would sell, and then my team would have to deliver. And there was such a disconnect. I was like, we can't do that. Well, why not? Oh, I don't know. We're not authorized to sell that product. Like basic stuff. I'm like, how'd you miss that? Like, how'd you miss that? And so I just felt like I was having conversations with people, and oh, by the way, the whole process that is in the training, I still do that today. I still do CQIs today, every single time, like every single time. And I'm a 2-call closer, will be a 2-call closer till I take my last breath, because me personally believe that if I can't give that business owner 15, 30, 40 minutes of my time to truly understand where they're at and what their business is doing, and then go back and kind of take my knowledge, take now what I've learned and put together the best path forward for them, then shame on me. Like, it's not what can I sell them, it's what problem can I solve for them. And many times the problem that needs solved isn't the one they want solved. And so it's my job to tell them that. So I do the CQI, thank them for their time, and say, you know what? It's going to take me about 48 hours to come up with your customized, plan. Can we get on a call Thursday at 4? And I don't get off that first call till I get that time. I would say 90% of the time I get it. And it's interesting because the minute they realize you're not going to try and sell them something, the defenses come down. And then they start telling you everything, which is just more ammunition for what, putting together, not ammunition, more information to put together the best plan for them. Now, is it all going to revolve around the core services that we offer? Absolutely it is. But you just might position them differently, right? Like, you can't do message marketing if they don't have a list. Okay, let's build a list. You can't I won't do Google ads if the reviews are crap, or Facebook ads. Like, let's clean that up, We don't want people seeing 2-star reviews. First off, why do you have a 2-star review? Let's talk about that for a half second. And so I just kind of put it in, all of the services we offer, they just work together, and so you just put what makes sense, like what gets them the closest to their end result the quickest. And that, that's where we go. Now, if they have a list, I almost always lead with message marketing, because then that gets revenue to pay for the rest of the stuff we want to do. So, and that was a shift, like I said, happened in mid 2020. And then that just opened up, like, I did not see that coming. Like, I've created a course, all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, whoa, a course creator, an instructor, but look, I am.
Yeah. You're not until you are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing.
Oh, go ahead.
You're not a marketer until you are. Come into the group, learn, get that learning phase over, and really learn. Like, one of the things I see a lot is people, I know that. No. You know of that. You don't know that. There's a big difference. And I think that's one of my biggest frustrations with newer people, is there's the assumption that they know this. I know how to do Facebook ads. Do you really, though? Do you know how to do it how we do it? I don't think you do, because I've never seen another training structured like ours. So yeah, I think that, and a lot of people talk about imposter syndrome, which is true. However, it's like, it's your brain's fault that you don't want to do it, because I don't know if you've ever heard my neuro pathways speech, but like, when you go to do something for the first time, your brain's job is to protect you. It is to say, oh, no, you can't do that. What are you thinking? You can't do that. We can't do that because the neuro pathway to do that doesn't exist. And so your brain says, stop, drop, roll, timeout. We're not going here. So people, I think, beat themselves up for having imposter syndrome, but it's like, no, you're literally wired that way. But the first time you generate a lead, the first time you send a message marketing campaign that gets results or whatever, bam, the pathway's there. Now the belief can come. The belief can't come. That whole fake it till you make it is so true, because you can't make it until you make it. And so I think that is where, people just come in and they don't understand, like, not only have you probably never run a business before, a lot of people haven't, some have, but you've never done marketing before. So you're doing these two things, right? And it's going to take you a hot minute to get it to fall in place. But I mean, I had replaced my income in 6 months. Okay, I'll invest that. I'll invest that. I know people who've done it in 8 weeks, way faster. I'm not special. I'm a little fish, little baby
Yeah.
fish.
Yeah. No, I think you hit on a really important part there, that a lot of people kind of assume that all marketing is just like, it's a one stroke, or what is it? Painted with the same brush stroke. There's a term I'm looking for, you know what I'm saying. And I think
Absolutely.
what you said there about how you come in and you talk with your clients and you figure out what they're struggling with and what you can clean up, that really takes people's walls down, because I think a lot of people, particularly older generations, have this idea that all marketing is kind of just selling and sometimes even scamming. Like, people don't like feeling like they're being sold to. And if you come off in a way that makes them feel like you are there to sell to them, walls go up, right? And they're going to start kind of picking apart what you're there for, what do you want out of them? But when you come at it from somebody who's a problem solver and you're like, hey, I'm looking for businesses that actually want to grow and are going to be good partners for me. So this is a two-way interview. Let's talk about what you're struggling with. Let's talk about room for improvement. It completely flips marketing on its head, and it makes people, like, when you see it like that, as I'm here to solve a problem, you said it exactly right. People's walls come down, and all of a sudden now they're probably gushing out their problems to you.
Oh, well, and unfortunately, I don't know why, but I'm like that person that, like, you go to a concert and you're in line for the bathroom and people tell me their life story. I don't want to know their life story. I really don't. You know what? I just really want to go to the bathroom, maybe grab another cocktail and go back to my seat, right? No. No, they have to tell me. So I've always been that person anyways. And then, like, I've even stopped an interview and said, you know what? I don't think we're going to be a good fit. And here's why. And then all of a sudden they're like, no, you can't leave. Like, I think you can really help me. Oh, I know I can help you. But, we've got this issue, and this issue. And I'm not going to be the beating post for the last marketing company you hired. Because you know what? I didn't take any of your money. I did not fail you. I get it. We've all got, bad, awful stories, but that wasn't me. And so I'm not going to come in and make that transaction right. No, and I also won't bash another company. I'll be like, oh, that's an approach. Me saying that's an approach is, what the hell were they thinking?
But
that's
in a nice way.
Approach. Yeah. I think we might want to try this. Mm-hmm. And I mean, everybody, because there are such subpar trainings out there, I have to believe people don't knowingly take people's money and just not get them results. I have to believe that they followed the advice that they probably paid quite a bit of money to get, and it was just bad advice, which is super unfortunate, right? I mean, it's really unfortunate, but that's the reality of where we're at. So, I stopped, if I'm getting just too much and I can just tell that this isn't what they would rather be getting a root canal without lidocaine than talking to me, I just stop it, because it's not worth my time. Now, it took me, I don't know how many CQIs to get to that point. I sat through I cried. Oh my God, I cried after them because people treated me so horribly. And then all of a sudden, it was like, you start getting those first few results. And I was like, you know what? I'm good at what I do. You're lucky to be talking to me. I don't say that. But then you kind of come into your own. And it's like, you know what? If you're going to show me you're an asshole, then you know what? Thank you. Thank you for that, because saved us both a lot of time.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that's a really good point. When people show you that straight up, you're like, oh my God, I'm so happy you showed me this on day one, because I would have hated to waste 6 months on this relationship, putting my heart and soul into it.
6 weeks even, because you know what? Here's the thing. Crappy clients take up so much more energy. And every time I've gotten rid of one of those just soul-sucking clients, within a week, I have replaced them with someone paying me more that is thrilled to be working with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why. Like, why? Okay, why? Like, why don't I just now? I just don't take them. Knock on wood. Occasionally, one or two sneak through. Like a guy who thought a retainer didn't mean a monthly retainer didn't mean monthly. He thought it was a one-time thing. I'm like, you kind of sign the agreement, but anyhow. But yeah, like you just like you can't come into this having. It's so easy to look at like my success, other people's success, because you're looking at the, well, I'm not finished, but a more put together version.
Mm-hmm.
I was an idiot. I was an absolute idiot when I first started this. And my idea, my whole mission in life was to suck less the next day. Like, I'm just going to suck less today than I did yesterday. Like, that's it. You know, that bar is so low. You know?
Yeah. I always think to myself, just do it wrong. Like,
Yes!
just do it wrong. And then you'll realize you did it wrong and it might sting. And like you said, you might even cry. You might be like, wow, that guy was such a dick to me. And I didn't say the things that I should have said to him, but just do it wrong. And then the next day you'll look back and you'll be like, okay, so I did that wrong. I'm just gonna do it again. And then eventually you'll just keep doing it less wrong. And then you'll get to the point that you said you're at where you're like, actually, I don't know when this happened, but I think I'm pretty good at this now.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because like, you know, and it's funny because like, oh, message marketing queen, the this, that, and everything. And I used to get kind of annoyed when people would call me that because I'm like, oh, I'm so much more than that. Oh, you know, and stuff, you know. And then one of my partners, who I love because he keeps me in line. He never lets me get ahead of myself. He never lets me, he just said, you know what? Just pick up the fucking crown. He goes, just pick it up. He's like, own it, step into it. And I was like, all right, you know? And so now every time, you know, it's posted, I take a screenshot.
Yeah. You're like, that's me.
Yeah. I don't think that, nor have I ever thought of that. But it was, again, such a, like, it's a compliment. It's meant in the way, you know, it's a huge compliment. And I'm all like, man, you know, and stuff. And he was just like, just pick up the phone. Just put it on, you know?
Yeah.
Doesn't every girl want to have a tiara? And I'm like, I played with G.I. Joes. I wasn't Barbie, but anyhow. But it's interesting how, like, and that was, I mean, 2.5 years ago, I didn't know what the heck I was doing with any of that, right? And then kind of the final thing that flipped it to really all in with message marketing is I took an e-commerce email marketing course, and it's completely different than what you do with like local businesses. But then I got to thinking, I'm like, why? Why is it different? Like, why can't I take these principles here and apply them over here and not get like similar results? And so minus 2 campaigns you just can't run for local, which is a cart abandonment flow. You can't run that because there's no cart. Well, some people have carts, and then browse abandonment. You know, they're not looking at a physical product on your site. Everything else from e-commerce, I put into local businesses. And the first year I did that, I had a farm to table restaurant. We did $272,000 from message marketing. We paid for a food truck, my friend. And how did we do that? A product launch sequence I got out of e-commerce.
Nice.
We're launching a service. It's a food truck, right? 5 emails paid for a food truck.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And
you
that's
you
when I
came
was
into the
like,
program, you got some clients, you did lead gen, you made this pivot, you got to 20K a month in around 6 months. So you had this awesome progression. You already said you're not special. You literally just followed the program. So how is your business kind of doing these days, and what's your next goal that you're trying to get to?
so my next goal I want to get to is 50K a month. I have not hit that. Comfortable member.
Yep.
I scared it. I scared it last fall. But I've kind of really been very comfortable. I keep about 25 clients.
Mhm.
That's where I'm at. And 20 of them are message marketing clients. 5 are agency clients. So it's completely flipped. But now I watched a freaking case study that James did with a guy who's working with chiropractors. He's
Mhm.
been in less than me and he's got a 7-figure business and he's got 50-ish, I think, chiropractic clients. And I was like, I could totally do that with wellness businesses. I could do that.
Mhm.
Like, I know what I know, what I know. We've got, I don't even know how many burned in campaigns now. Like, I mean, like, and how different is a float session from a salt chamber session? Like, copy is almost identical. Get the
Yeah.
images, do the offer, and then make sure they understand the value ascension. Like, okay, when they come in, what are you going to sell next? Well, I don't know. Well, you better know.
That's a good point though, is that like even if you get started in a business and you learn how to work with a certain industry, or you're like, okay, I love working with wellness businesses, then you'll learn, the more experience you get, the more you realize that a lot of these strategies and a lot of this knowledge can really be branched out. And you, like, I think what a lot of people don't realize is you can take what you learn in a program like LMB and really use it to branch out into an industry or a business that you kind of make your own, so you can get into things
Well,
like float sessions and stuff like that.
well, and I've toyed with buying a wellness center. I've toyed with it, but then
You could
that's a
get leads.
physical tether, right? I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
nah. So I think so next step is to really probably, I'm going to have to look into a client success manager. I'm going to have to look into potentially because I have 2 agencies, right? Like, really, I have a message marketing agency and I have a traditional agency that has message marketing in it, right?
Mhm.
And I think I'm a bit unique in that I understand both and I understand both well. Um, because that's why I have 20 clients that I'm not doing lead gen for, because
Mhm.
the people doing lead gen for them don't understand what I understand, right? So, and I collaborate with them. Like, they're going to launch an ad. I'm like, I'm writing the welcome sequence. So let me see the ad. Let me see all that. And the first time I asked for that, well, you'll steal it. I'm not stealing it. Because guess what? If it were me, I would be doing it different. Oh, well, what would you do? Oh, no. You're running the ads. I'm running the messaging.
Yeah.
And if
Oh
it's
my
a
gosh.
situation where it is really bad, like really bad, and they're not getting the results and we're not building the list, I will come in and say,
Mhm.
you may want to try this. But again, because I don't run the ads in my own business, I have I think one of the best marketers ever that runs my wellness ads. I'll send screenshots and be, if this were you, what would you do? Right. And then I get like
Mhm.
a 20-minute dissection. Well, I'm not going to know, but let me make it less awful.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I'll feed you coffee. But yeah, so I mean, you can come in and make it. I mean, if you think about it, like, we've got 7-figure agencies, more multi 7-figure agencies, in the real estate niche, in personal injury, in affiliate, in only social media management, like no posting, like social media, reputation management. I don't think they're not a 7-figure agency, but they're multi 6-figure. All they do is reputation. That's it. Me with message marketing. And then, I mean, so yeah, what I love about it is the foundation. You won't find a foundation better. You just won't. And then second, like it lets you really be you know, and find your way as long as you don't quit. Unfortunately, I have been around for 5 years and I've seen a lot of people come and go. A lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it hurts my heart because they're so close.
Yeah.
And you can tell when somebody's brand new, the type of questions they ask and the things they post and stuff. And then a couple months later, their questions get smarter, right? They have more because they have a better base, right? And, you know, I have so many people all the time. Oh my God, thank you so much for answering my question. I was like, dude, you have no idea how dumb I was when I first started. And I'm still dumb in many, many regards, right? But it's just like, I don't know of another place that you can truly come in, and if you do it and really, and then I mean really do it, like be honest with yourself. Like don't send 3 emails and expect to get a result. Like, you know, I think I sent 10,000 before I got a response. Well, then I got to the point where I had it so dialed in because guess what? I got told off. I got email accounts shut down. I mean, you know, all the things happen, right? Now, if I send 400 emails, I'm probably landing 3 to 4 clients.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't happen overnight. That happened in 5 years.
Yep.
Right? But people just, they give up. Like they're so close. And the thing is, like, you can tell them they're close, but unless they believe it, like if they truly believe it or they want it bad enough. And I get really tired of people, oh, you need to know your why. You know what? Everybody's got a why. And everybody's whys are pretty dang powerful. So don't put that on somebody that their why isn't strong enough. No, their why gets them started. I'm too stubborn to quit keeps them going. Their, you know, determination, commitment, those things have nothing to do with your why.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, they don't, you know, and every time somebody says that, I get really angry. It's like, don't put that on somebody. You're making them feel like their kid, their mom, their brother, their husband, whatever the thing that their why isn't big enough because they're not successful. No, that's crap. It's the why gets you started. The commitment and dedication and just being too stubborn is what pushes you through. And the thing is like, if they could just hang on and get that little bit of success,
Mm-hmm.
it just goes like I said, I still remember the first lead I generated. I remember everything about it. It was for Yoga Studio. I remember, and she called me screaming, right? You know, and meanwhile, I was like, yeah, of course it did. And I'm like, oh.
The first client is I feel like the first client, we could make a whole series off of people's first clients. My first client was a podiatrist, and full disclosure, before this program, I did not even know what a podiatrist was. But we got that client. We could not even convince him to do the full lead gen because he was very skeptical. I think we closed him on like a $500 a month deal. And we ended up getting him better results than what LMD predicted we would. And it felt like we got a little bit of our thirst quenched. And I think that's the momentum that people need to keep going. But so many people quit before they get that. And I think once you get that first client, you have that, like, I can actually do this, I think,
this
moment.
Holy shit, this works. Like
yeah.
Like I knew it would, but then there's knowing and then knowing. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, on that note, I have 2 more questions for you. Are you okay for time, though? I know we're going a little bit over here.
Yeah, no, I am.
Okay. So if you were going to, like, if there was somebody considering this business or this program, and they were maybe feeling how you were when you came in, where you're like, I have a lot of questions, I've tried stuff, it did not work out the way I thought it would, what would you say to those people?
That's a great question. Shut up and do it. No, I'm just kidding. That's such a cop-out answer. I think that it works if you work. And I know that's such a trite answer, but there are thousands of success stories out of this program. Thousands. There are more multi-hundreds that are at six-figure agencies, like 300-400 that I know of. And then there are, and here's the thing, people hit success and then they go on and they're running their agencies. I'm one of the freaks that just hung around. You know what I mean? Like, and then there are, I want to say there's, I know of probably 50, if not higher, seven-figure agencies, like legitimately, and they're still in business and they're still running them. So, if you're truly looking for something to do with a proven path and you're willing to put in the time and you're willing, and it's not that much time, like it's going to seem like a lot because that first, like you jump into that training, you're like, what have I done? That only lasts 30, 60 days. And then all of a sudden it starts to set. So if this is something that you truly want to change your life and you truly want to help businesses, don't get in it for the money. I mean, it's great, but if you truly want to change your life and you want to change other businesses, have a little bit of leap of faith. And once you get in, there's going to be, gosh, I think, is there 7,000, 8,000 lifeguards there ready to scoop you out of the deep end when you start to flounder, you know? I mean, just do it. Like, just do it. That sounds so trivial, but I mean, honestly, like,
it's true.
I can't think of another thing out there that you can get the kind of success you can here as quickly as you can. But it is effort gets results. So you got to do the effort part to get the results. So there's that. That's my advice.
Good. Okay. And then the last thing that we always like to ask people is, obviously in any business, as you're kind of becoming a business owner, there's certain ways that we all like to work. Everybody has their kind of productivity hacks and stuff like that. So have you found that there's kind of a routine or any kind of little like productivity tip that you're like, oh, this actually really worked for me and I would recommend other people try this as well?
So another thing, I don't know if you know, not only am I old, but I have ADD, or I guess now it's ADHD, the kids call it. I never had the hyperactivity, but I live by a Pomodoro timer. Yeah, that is honestly because when you look at this wall of things you have to do, because I'm not going to sugarcoat this, it is so much information. Like, it is information overload. You have to chunk it down. And so to me, I do that. I load up everything. It used to be Franklin Planner, again, dating myself, but now this is the digital version of that I can do anything for 20 minutes without interruption. Like, I can do anything. And it is amazing to me, truly, what you can get done in those 20-minute sprints. Yeah. And then take your 5 minutes, and then 20 minutes, and then take your 5 minutes. And when I am sticking to it, and as soon as it goes off and I do the break, even if I'm in the middle of it and I'm on the verge of something, when I come back, it's better.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the time management and task management that works for me. If that isn't something you've heard of or don't know of, come up with a way to manage your tasks and time, given the constraints you have. If you're working a full-time job, if you're a mama, if you're doing those things, like, come up with, I can do this for 30 minutes. Okay, well then, by gosh, do it for 30 minutes. Like, do it all in, shut the kids, have grandma, have hubby, have whomever, have your wife, whatever your circumstances are, do that. If you're working full-time, I know one of my good friends, that's a $60K a month with a full-time job. Wow. That's some dedication. So be realistic, be honest with yourself with what you can do. If it's 30 minutes, you can move mountains in 30 minutes as long as you're doing the right things in those 30 minutes. So be honest with yourself, dedicate the time, and have a way to track the tasks and your time so that you're maximizing it. That would be that is the thing that really catapulted me to be able to write, 2,000 emails in November for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, like, honestly. So That's
Yeah.
my thing.
Yeah.
Basics,
And I
basics.
think
You gotta cover the basics.
Yeah, and I think adding to that too, because I also do Pomodoro technique, or I'll just set a timer. So you can literally on your computer bring up a timer app. I have two screens. On the one screen, I'm doing my thing. On the other screen is my timer. I have my headphones in. I've got some kind of like white noise or lyric-less music going. And my rule is that I am literally only doing that thing for 30 minutes. So
Yep.
all notifications are off. I'm not looking at emails. I'm like, this is 30 minutes of deep work on this thing. And I think exactly what you said. I think people really underestimate how much you can get done in 30 minutes of actual focus where your brain is not looking anywhere else. You're like, I am in this thing. It's
Yep.
mind blowing.
It and people, how do you do that? Well, first, ADD, ADHD, digital dingbat, like old, like I got nothing going for me here, people. Nothing. I'm too stupid to quit.
So perfect though. I love it. That's you just have to embrace it. Too stupid to quit.
Too stupid to quit. Just too stupid.
I love it. I love it. Well, Terri, I appreciate you hopping on with us. This has actually been so great. I feel like you had a lot of really good things and you hit on a lot of really, really great points that people just they kind of know but they overlook and I think you did a good job at kind of calling out those bit of limiting beliefs. So thank you so much for hopping on with me and
My pleasure.
I'll send you some clips as we cut them and then you'll see us posting some in the group and stuff and try to help out some
Sounds
people.
great. All right. Take care.
Thank you. Remember to leave Riverside open for a couple minutes so I
I'm
can finish
leaving it. I'm
uploading.
not touching it.
All right. All right. I will let you get on with your evening, though. Thank you again, Terri.
Bye
This was
bye.
fun. Bye.